Hello, IAAPA! What's going on? Thank you so very much for coming to our press conference. My name is Pete Bartow, and I am the Director of Sales here at S&S Worldwide, S&S Sansei Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to the greatest trade show in the world, working in the greatest industry in the world. Just to give you a quick little background on S&S, if you're not super familiar, we are the world's leading manufacturer of vertical and family thrill rides, and the largest manufacturer in the United States of innovative ride designs. Kind of going through our, the past, since 1994, our company has been strong with about 500 ride attractions open in over 30 countries, bearing our name. We run anywhere from our 40 free spins, which we've opened in the past few years, triple launch coasters, air launch coasters, L Locos, and our family inverted coaster this past year. So in 2002, if you're not familiar, Sns Acquired Aerodynamics, one of the great roller coaster and ride manufacturers in this industry. Many of those rides are still operating around the world. We took over the past 15 years or so, our company primarily worked on service and spare parts and support of the existing aero rides. And we looked at that as an opportunity to say, maybe it's time we take a look at some of those aero rides and see what we could do to bring that aerodynamic kind of feel and excitement and those great rides they did back to our industry, back to this, back to our company. So we started talking to some of the park owners around the world and said, okay, you're familiar with aero rides. What would you like to see? You want to see a revolution? You want to see something out there? And as you can probably see, one such meeting happened at IAAPA's Euro Attraction Show a year and a half ago in Barcelona between myself and one of the biggest aero fans in the industry, but a little more on that later. So what we decided to do was we wanted to bring back the Steeplechase. It's the return of a true classic aero ride. It's as unique and as special of a ride offering today as it was the day that it was built. So give you a little background history on it. The first Steeplechase ride actually opened in 1897 in Brooklyn, New York at Steeplechase Park. There's some video of it, a lot of fun. You can see there, that we really wanted to capture the essence of the original Steeplechase ride. So that ride actually opened in 1897, was open for about 10 years, and then a fire in 1907 actually damaged the ride, and the owner of the park had to rebuild it. It cost them $100,000 to rebuild the ride, which might not sound like a lot in roller coaster terminology, but in today's money, that'd be $2.6 million for that ride. So that ride was rebuilt in 1908 and stayed open until September 20th, 1964. So it clearly had a good life and a good run as a very dynamic, exciting family attraction. It's a favorite for generations. So when we started looking at kind of what some options might be, we said, well, maybe that's the ride we need to bring back to this industry. Maybe that's the Arrow one that we wanted, because Arrow then came along after the original was done in Coney Island and opened up the first one at Knott's Berry Farm. It was actually a cycle theme, not a horse theme. It was a cycle theme race with 4 lanes, and it eventually was converted over to a 2-seat wide configuration with a soapbox racer theme, which for those of you old enough in the audience to remember Saturday morning cartoons, you probably remember the Wacky Racer. So great little ride. The second one was opened in 1977, 1 year later, at Blackpool Pleasure Beach in the United Kingdom. And that ride to this day, which is themed as Steeplechase, is still open and operational, and it's now just finished up its 40th year in operation. Rather than have me kind of talk about how dynamic that ride is and why we chose to go with the Steeplechase for this debut this year, why don't I actually bring up Nick Thompson. Nick is a good friend of ours. His park, when I talked about a fan of Aero, his park actually has 5 Aero rides. He's a 4th generation family operated park and operator. And I want to kind of have him share kind of that discussion, that conversation we had at EAS a year and a half back. So Nick Thompson, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi there, thank you, Pete. Yeah, about a year and a half ago, Pete came up to me and said, we're thinking of bringing back some ABBA rides, and we're going to do the Revolution. And I said, that's brilliant, but don't do the Revolution first. You've got to do the Steeplechase. You know, it's one of the most unique rides and thrilling rides that, you know, we've ever put in. It was put in, as Pete said, in 1977 at a cost of £813,000. It was the first ride my father ever bought after my grandfather. And it, you know, it's been one of the most popular rides ever since it was created, and still is today. And I don't know how many million riders we've had on it, but it's just spectacular to see this one. So yeah, as Pete said, we've got our first Arrow ride was the Alice ride back in, I think it was 1961. Then we had the Steeplechase in 71. Then we had the Revolution in 79, and the big one in 94. And then we had the first S&S ride in 1977. So we have a very long relationship with this great company. Oops, sorry, let's check my notes. Where are we? Yeah. No, as I said, the ride was built in 1977, and it's still as popular today as it's ever been. And so we're thrilled to see this one. And, you know, I can't wait to have a ride on it. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank you, Nick. If you haven't noticed, Nick is actually the chairman of the BALPA Association, the British Amusement Parks Association, hence the bling. So he's, you know, we're very lucky to have Nick be able to help participate and share kind of his experience with the Steeplechase ride. Again, you know what, we really took a lot of time and energy to really study this ride. It wasn't just, hey, let's go and make the same thing. Just like Mr. Julu did back when the first Steeplechase burned down, he made enhancements and improved the ride in 1908 when it was rebuilt. When Arrow built their first Steeplechase ride, they made some changes and some enhancements to it. You know, we looked at that design and said, how can we keep the ride experience dynamic and fun and family friendly, but also, you know, change that up and make it safer in terms of restraints, make the track design a little bit more smooth. So we spent a lot of time talking to Nick about the things he liked about his Steeplechase and the things that he said if he could do it all over again, he would do it this way. So we did that. We flew a number of our engineers over to study his ride very closely, and we thought it was real critical to really be in touch with that ride to get an understanding. So when we started designing, we came up with a lap bar restraint, which what that did is it allowed us to significantly lower the height restriction on this ride. I mean, you're talking for Blackpool, I believe it's around 55 inches is the current minimum rider height for that ride. We have this ride at 42 inches or 1.1 meter. So again, we wanted to have something that was open dynamic and something that the whole family could enjoy. The simple single lap bar restraint holds the people in tightly. Wonderful ride. We allowed also but we still maintains that openness of the original Steeplechase ride that really makes it so fun to ride. We looked around and also time to look at different kind of themes that we could do for the ride, because you know, it's not just about having to be a horse race. Maybe it's a motorcycle, or it's some sort of pod racer, or a dragon, or you see over there, you know, a raptor dinosaur. It really is almost limitless in terms of the kind of theming that you can do for a ride like this. So it's really fun. I'll go ahead and show you. You may have already seen the video, but I'll go ahead and show you the other portions of this ride that we changed and enhanced. We wanted to keep a standard chain lift to take it up. The original, actually, back in Coney Island, was a cable pull, but this the Arrow one was chain. We wanted to stay with the chain lift. The other thing we wanted to do was incorporate a Mobius loop. For those of you who don't know what a Mobius loop is, usually the track crosses over at one point and then goes a second time around the track on the other rail. So what this allows us to do is keep the footprint compact, allow for keep the cost down with the track length, but also provide a good long ride experience. We actually bypass the station with a bypass on the front and the back end of the station, which goes around the track, which allows us to have a second lift, reusing the first lift for the ride experience. And then lastly, as you come back into the station, there's also adequate time to load and unload the ride, so you're not rushed with a ride like this, and it doesn't dampen the ride capacity opportunities for this ride. So for all these things we're very excited about. We wanted to make it very maintenance friendly. We wanted to make it very fun, very dynamic, and really do something cool with it. So, you know, this isn't just a concept. You see we actually have, although the coatings are just for looks, the ride and the chassis itself are the actual ride design we're going with. Same thing with the restraints. You see we actually, if you find your way out to Logan, Utah, you'll see our test track, and we've had a couple runs already, and the initial feedback is we're real excited about it. So, you know, really taking a holistic approach to the way we approach our rides. You know, we're out there trying to find something that's going to be really fun, different, unique, exciting for our guests. So with that, I just want to thank everyone for coming out to the press conference. Myself and a number of us here will be available to answer any kind of questions. We have some engineers, we have some of our project managers. I'll be available as well as the president of our company, Tim Temko. But allow me to thank you guys. I want to thank our staff for working on this, especially our engineering team that put in countless hours to get this ride together and really make it an incredible ride experience. I'm so happy to be a part of this. So thank you, everyone, and have a great show.